So I wanted to talk about this whole Notting Hill Carnival situation. I've been on Twitter and I've been reading a hell of a lot of tweets from women talking about on the Sunday and the Monday of Notting Hill Carnival. If you don't know about Notting Hill Carnival is the second largest carnival in the world. The first largest carnival in the world is Brazil's carnival. It happens every year. It is between the bank holiday weekend, so it's the Sunday. So it was, So Sunday the 26th this year and Monday the 27th, so the bank holiday weekend. And it was started years ago, well, the 1980s, I believe, 1980s, yeah. After there was a lot of riots happening in London at the time, so it was started by a Trinidadian woman and several other Caribbean people as a reaction to those riots. And it's been going on for years, and it has a massive influx of people yearly. It is like literally that big. They have millions of people, not like in the Caribbean where the carnivals are a little bit smaller. But that's not a bad thing anyway, because it's like some people haven't even heard of Notting Hill Carnival, even though it's the second largest in the world. But when you speak to them, they've heard of Barbados' Crop Over, and they've heard of Trinidad Carnival and Grenada's Spice Mass, and Guyana also has a carnival, I believe. There is a lot of carnivals across the Caribbean. A lot of women. I didn't go to Notting Hill Carnival because I came back from the Dominican Republic on Saturday, and we arrived back in the UK early Sunday morning. It was like 5 o'clock when we landed back, and we had to wait a very long time for our luggage, but that's for our next video. Basically what happened is I'm reading on hundreds of tweets from women on Twitter who have described being sexually assaulted at Notting Hill Carnival on not just the Sunday but also the Monday as well. I've read one tweet where a woman was saying that she was dancing and men kept groping her and touching her body, and they pretty much would not leave her alone, and she kept telling them no, and they would not listen. And she kept having, when you have to get physical, like she literally had to push them away, and sometimes she would have to punch some of them in the mouth because they would not move away from her. Like, how many times can you tell a person no? There was another woman who said she didn't want to dance with a guy, so he said that he raised his hands as if to, when you raise your hands as if to slap someone. One of my friends told me she was there and this guy kept dancing on her and would not leave her alone. It's like freaking ridiculous. Like, another girl was talking about how a group of boys, while she was at Notting Hill Carnival with her boyfriend, told her boyfriend to come off her, and then they proceeded to undo her bikini. Do you know the entitlement of men to our bodies? Now, before I start, men were sexually assaulted as well, but I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But however, when you talk about patriarchy and misogyny, you are acutely aware that men have an entitlement to women's bodies. They feel that they have this entitlement to our bodies, and so for them to just feel that they can just touch you and grope you and undo your bikini and dance on you without permission. I even saw a video of this grown woman. Excuse me. I even saw this video of this grown woman dancing on this young boy. This boy looked no older than 6 or 7 years old, and she was walking up her backside on this boy. Now, first of all, that's sexual assault. And that's also sexual abuse. This boy no older than 6 or 7, his daddy's holding his neck to hold him up, and you feel no way. Like, people are laughing about it. This is the thing, what I'm gonna say, and I know a lot of people probably won't agree with it. However, a lot of people do not see men and women the same way, or boys and girls the same way. When it's a girl or woman being sexually assaulted by a man, you understand that, or sexually abused by a man, people understand that. However, when it's a woman who's doing a sexual assault or doing a sexual abuse to a boy or a man, people laugh that off because they don't see women in the same way. And they don't see boys as being capable of being sexually assaulted or being sexually abused. And I've noticed this because people were laughing, saying, "Oh, it was just a little bit of fun. Let him enjoy it." Like, let him enjoy it. The boy is 6 or 7 years old. What exactly is he enjoying? This grown woman is winding up on a child, and she thinks that's acceptable. I shouldn't even have to say, oh, well, if that was a girl and a man was doing that to her. I shouldn't even have to say that. But however, some people don't seem to be able to comprehend how wrong that is unless you actually say that. But some people don't seem to care, and that's becoming an issue. Like, boys can be sexually assaulted as well and sexually abused. So can men. End of discussion. Men can also be raped. Men can also be victims of domestic violence. Like, for God's sake, use your goddamn brains. There was nothing cute about that video. Okay, his dad should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Your son is basically being sexually abused in front of millions of people, and you see no goddamn problem with it. Because, oh yeah, it's cute. Let him have a little bit of fun. He's a fucking child. A child. Don't be so dunce. So many dunce breeds, man. Bloody hell. And a few men have also spoken about how their balls were grabbed by women as well. Like, for God's sake. That's sexual assault as well. Like, women, keep it real. You don't want men to put them hands on you. You don't do the same thing to them, because it's the exact same thing. I don't care, regardless of gender, it's the exact same thing. So I don't know where you think you're going, putting your hands on someone's balls. Did they say for them to do that? Did they say, oh yes, you can put your hands on my balls? Consent is the thing that's been missing here. I've heard stories of men putting their hands on women's crotch, women's breast, stroking it, putting their hand down here, all over their body, and some of these women had to go home early in tears. That's how bad they felt. They felt so uncomfortable they had to go home in tears. And you think when they got home the tears stopped? No, they didn't stop. They literally felt violated. They makes them feel like their skin is crawling. You don't have the right to put your hands on anybody without permission. And for all of those who are out there who are sitting there saying about, oh well, if the women weren't dressed the way they were, then the women got sexually assaulted. Fuck that shit right there. Rascals, now I'm about to start that business, you know. Listen, yeah. I've heard stories of women in hijabs, Muslim women in hijabs who've been sexually assaulted. Women in suits have been sexually assaulted, yeah? Women butt naked have been sexually assaulted, yeah? Women in bikinis have been sexually assaulted. Can you not understand it's nothing to do with the woman's attire? It's entirely to do with the men's mentality. He feels entitled to touch a woman because she is a woman, not because how she is dressed. And the fact you keep victim blaming is bloody ridiculous. Now, someone made a very good point earlier today. I read this thread earlier today. Someone made a very good point. I've forgotten her name, but I shall find it later. She said because the Caribbean carnivals, they're technically smaller in numbers. They have like thousands who go to the Caribbean carnivals compared to Notting Hill Carnival where it's millions. Because the Caribbean carnivals have thousands, there's actually more, they feel more safe to go to those carnivals because there's not as many crowds. However, here in the UK, going to Notting Hill Carnival it's a lot different because there's a lot more people going. There's also a bigger number of men who will be predators. Let's use the correct term. Predators, that's what they are. The men and the women. Some of the women have been acting up as well, touching the men without permission, winding up on little boys. I don't know what the fuck you think you're doing. No, it's not right either way. It's just not right. However, me as a woman, I felt the need to do this video to speak out against the fuckery, because I honestly don't remember hearing stories like this at Notting Hill Carnival last year. However, this year I'm seeing an explosion of people talking about their incidents. One woman was telling me a couple of days ago, she was telling me about how she went to Notting Hill Carnival once and she felt so uncomfortable that she's decided she's never going back there again. And I don't blame her, because if you're hearing more stories about sexual assault and it's rising in numbers, because I'm like literally serious, hundreds of people are talking about this now. Hundreds. Not like no like 1 or 2, 3 people, no, like literally hundreds. It's a problem, and honestly I don't know what the solution would be, because it's hard to control that huge numbers of people like that. And I know there are some people who said that they had a good time at Carnival and they never encountered any of these problems. Like, that's good. I'm glad you had a good time anyway. I know you're going to have more of a good time next year. However, for the mass number of people to be talking about them, to be talking about being sexually assaulted, this is a serious problem. And as you can see in the newspapers, the main focus is on the violence, the very little violence that happened at the Notting Hill Carnival this year. As far as I'm read, from what I read, there was no stabbings. Knives were removed, yes. However, the main issue that the police neglected was the sexual assault. So I don't know what else more needs to be. I don't know what else needs more to be done. Some people have said they went to Notting Hill Carnival this year, they got sexually assaulted, they're not going back again next year, and that's that. So something more needs to be done, more safety precautions. But however, if the police are going to be ignoring what's going on, then I honestly don't know what else to suggest. Because not everybody's going to have a good time at Notting Hill Carnival, and that is something we need to address. It's just sad all around that women don't feel safe in the world anywhere. I mean, people are always talking about countries like Saudi Arabia where women are oppressed. However, women are oppressed here in the UK as well. That's not for me to say, well, our situation is worse than theirs or whatever. It's just more along the lines of, you can't just focus on one country, you need to address other countries as well. Because oppression of women is a worldwide thing, and I think more people need to be able to communicate that correctly. That women are oppressed all year round, and it's actually a tragic thing that this still happens in 2008 and we still haven't had these discussions. It just really frustrated me, angered me, it made me so incredibly sad to read all these stories. I read some of them on Sunday. And I was like, whoa. And then I read some more of them on Monday, and then I saw some on Tuesday, I saw some Wednesday, I saw some yesterday. It's now Friday and I'm still seeing new stories crop up about women being sexually assaulted at Notting Hill Carnival. So let me know down in the comments below what your suggestion would be to improve the safety of women at Notting Hill Carnival. And also, why is it that young boys are being sexually abused for everybody to see, but nobody sees that as a problem? Like, why do you consider that is? Okay, so I shall see you tomorrow for some more videos. Stay blessed.